Welcome to the Charter Township of Comstock Special Board Meeting, December 1st, 2025. This meeting is now called to order. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Looking for approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Support. Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda's approved. Moving along to business for closed session, I'd be looking for a motion to enter closed session.
I move that the Township Board convene in closed session under Section 8(1)H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material exempt from disclosure by state statute, Section 13(1)G of the Freedom of Information Act, being a letter from its attorney dated December 1st, 2025, for the reason that the letter is exempt from disclosure under state law due to the attorney-client privilege.
Support. Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Cherry. Roll call vote.
I'd like to amend that a motion to, and also invite Superintendent Hess and Attorney Thal into the closed session. So I'm sorry, whoever.
Motion amended. Trustee support. Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Cherry. Roll call vote.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee Cherry.
Yes.
Trustee McIver.
Yes.
Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Motion carried. We're going into closed session.
Such a farewell with all the snow. Not too bad, not too bad. I just got up about 10 and
Between the two storms, you rotated to it.
blew it out. When the should finally comes through.
We're aiming at big things.
Yeah, there you go.
I tried the snow blower at the shoulder near me to reduce that.
Nothing special, not all of them, that was
Well, I'll say all, yeah, but there's a priority system. And we continue to start, they gotta repeat the priorities. You know, I gotta get else, they all have an area. They got fun. Well, it's going, you know, today. I think ours happened during the night. And the ones came out by me, that snow packets. They don't get, didn't get you.
definitely smart, but I just never a big comparison.
I think that's cool.
I gotta get the KU well. How are you, sir? I didn't recognize you in your winter gear.
That's about the only winter gear you're ever gonna see the guy.
December 10th or 11th. Going to,
I think you're coming to say, unless you were looking at something else.
Yeah, that little bit of. No. Yeah, that's what it takes, you know, working at it. Your driveway, cleaned out.
be looking for a motion to exit closed session.
I move that we exit closed session.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. Roll call vote?
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Okay, we are out of closed session.
We're going to move along to public comment. We will be calling to order the Township Board meeting at 6 o'clock. Public comment, a citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor. No other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from the board members, but you are welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. Contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful. Seeing that there is no public comment, this special meeting will be adjourned. the Charter Township of Comstock Board meeting, Monday, December 1st, 2025. This meeting is now called to order. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved. Moving along to public comment. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you will be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you are welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. The contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Jonica Camburn. First of all, I want to say I do not enjoy stirring up another hornet's nest, but I feel like this needs to be clarified. This is in response to my opinion at the last board meeting concerning Treasurer Bloomfield and a conflict of interest concerning the Clark Hill report. Immediately after the meeting, an older gentleman approached me and angrily asked me where I got my information. I am assuming he felt that either a board member or township employee had spoken with me and given me confidential information. Had he not stormed off quickly, I would have told him that my information came from a board meeting that I had attended on April 21st of 2025. The board meeting minutes state in part that on January 9th of 2025, the township received a complaint of workplace harassment. The superintendent, on behalf of himself and his staff, filed a complaint alleging a hostile work environment. Clark Hill conducted an investigation, interviewed 13 witnesses, including Treasurer Bloomfield and others. Minutes state, and I quote, "The superintendent's allegation of hostile work environment harassment is sustained," end of quote. You can read the minutes of this meeting and see more of the complaint if you feel inclined to do so. This is where I received my info and how I came to my conclusion that there was a conflict of interest for our treasurer on the Clark Hill matter and felt it was inappropriate for her to vote. With all the allegations of misconduct being floated around about our board members, I felt it was important that I clarify this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Let me go ahead and cut through all the noise right away. Just get to it. On May 19th, 2025, this board voted 4-3 to immediately end its portion of the moratorium on large-scale energy projects here in Comstock, 8 months before the scheduled end. Documents obtained throughout a Freedom of Information Act requests show one trustee even tried to pressure the township's former attorney to provide legal cover for ending it effective immediately, even going so far as to issue a veiled threat of reassessing the working relationship. That attorney is gone now. Later, the Moratorium Committee Chair, who also happens to be our township supervisor, asked this board for a simple 6-month extension so they could safely finish research that was still developing. The Planning Commission also said on record that they had work they wanted to complete. The same 4-3 majority voted again to reject that extension. Thankfully, the Planning Commission refused to follow the board's lead, and they kept the moratorium in place, did the work that they could anyway, and delivered a much stronger ordinance that you have before you tonight. On December 31st, the Planning Commission's moratorium expires. If this board rejects the updated ordinance, the weak 2024 ordinance, Ordinance 543, automatically comes back into effect. This one that allows massive energy facilities right next to our schools and almost no real protections. Rejecting tonight's ordinance doesn't mean no BES. It means reverting back to the dangerous old rules this moratorium was put in place to correct. And it's the same pattern we've seen over and over again. Whether sirens were added to the CIP budget, then one trustee switched their vote at the last second so that the same 4-3 majority could kill them, ignoring the overwhelming number of residents who spoke in favor. Another one, R1C cluster housing, was rejected by the Planning Commission and met with loud, sustained public opposition. Yet the same 4-3 majority overrode the Planning Commission and a clear majority of the vocal residents and forced it through anyway. This pattern is exactly why recall petitions were filed against 4 officials who ended the board's moratorium early. The clarity hearing is being held this Thursday, December 4th at 1 p.m. If the county approves the language, which is taken straight from the official minutes of the May vote, petitions could be circulating within days. Passing this ordinance tonight won't stop that progress. It's already begun, and I will continue it. But rejecting this will only prove once again why this recall is justified. So I encourage you to do the right thing. Adopt the ordinance the Planning Commission fought to protect and strengthen, and do your jobs and protect the township.
Thank you, sir.
David Camber, 1078 Verleen Street. I'd like to start off by saying that I'm against the sirens. They're a waste of our taxpayers' money. We have modern technology which can alert people. And whoever's saying that old people can't learn to use technology, I disagree with that. If people don't have a phone, they can get them free from the government. The homeless population, and I've worked with a lot of the homeless, have phones. 2 or 3, a lot of them, because they get them free from the government. They steal each other's. They got phones. They will get the alerts. People say, well, the last time a tornado came through, we didn't get the alert. We did not, because it was not declared a tornado until it was east of Comstock. Sirens are a big waste of money. It's antiquated technology. It also presents a liability problem for the township. If a tornado comes through and we fail to have those activated, who's going to get sued? Another lawsuit against the township. That's all I've got to say about that. The other thing I'd like to say is there's a lot of innuendos and misinformation that go on up here. And I want you to know that I trust Trustee Cherry, Trustee Pratt, Clerk Beauchamp, Trustee McIver, and I trust our superintendent. They're genuinely good people with honest and good intentions for our township. Quite frankly, I don't mistrust the other 3 members of this board. Which brings me around to the recall effort that was just mentioned. I think the public also needs to know that today recall petitions were submitted for Treasurer Bloomfield, Supervisor Martin, and Trustee Amos. And we're off and running. Y'all have a good night. I'll be back.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a while since I've been here. I just wish we could all get along, people. I mean, we're all grown adults here. It's like we got one board member pressuring the attorney and everything. I'm all for recalling that one. It's like lost my trust. He told me to be hopeful in the township and everything, and then write an email like that to the attorney and only CC certain people of the board where you say you want to, work with the whole entire board. Why wasn't everyone CC'd? It just surprises me we can't get along and we gotta throw out, the recall papers and everything like that. I understand why on some of them, but I mean, I hope this BES ordinance gets passed tonight and everything, because if not, Comstock Schools is probably gonna be pretty mad at the township, I mean, you guys sold the property to them and everything like that, and now they're with the township library and everything like that, and you guys have a good relationship. Listen to the people, listen to the school and everything like that. We don't want this battery system really close. I don't want it at all near the stem, but regardless, it's gonna go up there, even if it's on a golf course or something like that. You know, I just wish we didn't have to do this recall stuff. It looks bad on the township. You know, it looks horrible. You know, when someone wants to move to a township, they're gonna look up Comstock Township and see the houses and everything, and they're gonna see News Channel 3 headlines, recall over here, recall over here. Well, what's going on? No one's gonna buy a house in Comstock Township when they know the township is failing. You know, you say, have hope in the township. Well, no one can get along on the board. You know, so I guess we have to recall people, and that's not good. We should be able to get along. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Emily Murphy, Comstock resident. As we round the corner to button up the text amendment for Comstock Township's battery energy storage system ordinance, I want to acknowledge how divisive and stuck in the weeds this whole process has felt. It seems so silly considering we all live here, work here, go to school here, or care about someone who does. One might think the well-being of the community should be something we could all get behind instead of dividing us. I want to thank the supervisor and deputy treasurer for taking the time and energy to communicate why having a workable ordinance for the best developers was imperative for the safety of our community. They have talked to and with members of the township as opposed to talking at and above us. The previous ordinance that was developed was made to be workable for the developers and not in the interest of the community. Ultimately, it will cause harm if it becomes the governing ordinance. Michigan does not do enough to protect its citizens when it comes to renewable or green energy developers. So I appreciate all the due diligence this board has done in the name of safety for our community, those that live here, work here, go to school here, or care about someone who does. I would request that we continue to push for safety and require the developer to help install the new emergency sirens. These best facilities may be deemed reasonably safe, but the developers are introducing a very new and specific type of potential emergency into our community. Comstock is struggling to come back from a pretty laughable reputation. Choosing to not alert its residents of emergencies perpetuates that reputation. Comstock Public Schools are building a state-of-the-art STEM school with Comstock taxpayer dollars. This was another way to help repair Comstock's declining reputation. Instead, we have parents pledging to take their children out of the district, new school be darned, due to the potential introduction of this facility, regardless of the academic opportunities our district is presenting. The community deserves a heads up. I challenge those who believe that everyone has a working phone that will, without fail, alert them of an emergency to walk around this township and talk to people, ask about their phones, their knowledge on emergencies, or what their backup plan is when they find themselves without their phone. I think that those who yell the loudest and grit their teeth the hardest about not wanting emergency sirens do not care to understand how much poverty exists in our township. They are unwilling to acknowledge the massive lack of resources some of Comstock's most vulnerable experience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Evening, Dean Rockwell. I reside at 8178 Fawn Meadow Trail. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Last month, when I spoke during the second half, I wanted to apologize for speaking out of turn during your meeting. What was presented during that time was a new legal use policy for the attorney use policy that you were discussing. And it just took me aback that the policy was written, by the superintendent in conjunction with, to understand, the attorney, but it was being presented to the meeting and almost going to be voted on what it appeared to be there. That is just, maybe normal for townships. That's unusual for at least the military. And I understand as soon as people say that, they often, say, well, this isn't the military. And I get that, but to not have circulated some of those changes that were going to be like a revision before a vote, or to make those things, is, in part why I was speaking out of turn. So either way, I apologize for speaking outside of the public comments, but it seemed like there was not a chance to get a word in edgewise that changing this, lawyer use policy, which I understand the motives to be cost cutting and you don't want a bloated budget, but I just feel that implementing something like that in the military, again, that would be reviewed not only by levels of command, the inspector general, lawyers ad nauseum before it would just be voted on. So neither here nor there. As far as the weather sirens and my capacity at the VFW, my main job over there is to listen. And again, it's not a scientific poll, but I will say as a straw poll, the majority of the members, in the hundreds, I would say do favor those sirens. And as far as, transparency, which, many things have been talked about, I will just say, though, for the board members, though you might not be required under MCL to explain some of your votes, which are obviously contentious to some. I don't believe in changing someone's heart or mind, and you should vote how, you were elected to, but not explaining some of those things is what I will just tell you once again, why I hear a lot of backlash from, again, a lot of our membership across the street is to the what's and the whys. People not explaining things. We had a very public, incident with the deputy fire chief earlier this year. And again, things weren't talked about. People had to do FOIA, Channel 3's doing things. So again, I'm not speaking on behalf of a certain person, but just the membership. The superintendent normally, like in the military, would come out and make a comment, or you would, empower your fire chief to speak upon these things and say, yes, doesn't mean that he or she's guilty, but this is the what and why, and there is a process to it. Transparency, I just think would go a long way. And that's the feedback I get from our membership. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pam York, 8797 East Main Street, and I wasn't going to get up and talk a lot, but I will say I'm hearing the same thing over and over again about transparency and talking to people and hearing people. And I will tell you, after being married so many years, that my husband will tell you that he hears it over and over and over again, and I'm a bulldog, and I know what it is. It's not feeling heard. And if people are coming to you and telling you the same thing over and over again, they're trying to be heard. And that's the number one thing. The number two thing was the gentleman in front of me was very articulate about the idea of transparency. And when we moved into Comstock, the sirens went. We could see them on 30th Street, and I'd never missed them because we don't normally get storms like that. But to find out that we hadn't had sirens for 7 years, when I always thought we had sirens, that's painful. That's like, not only, if we're not going to have sirens, then we need to publicize what we are going to have and how it's going to affect everybody in the township, not just a few people, the people that can afford the phones, the people that can afford technology. It needs to be publicized, and the discussions that you all have and the votes that you do, that's great. I understand there's a process behind stuff, but if we don't understand it, we're going to be bulldogs and we're just going to keep yammering at you guys. And that's not what we want either. I'd love to trust everybody and think that this is the best thing that you can do for our county or our township. This is what we should have. I did listen to all the planning board, and I listened to the moratorium board and how they work together. I will tell you, this document that they've come up with, the ordinance, is so much better than the previous one. It's not what I'd like. I mean, I'd not like to have to deal with this at all, but it is functional, it feels safer, and it gives us things that we won't get from the state. And I think we need to look at it, read their 200-page document. I did. I read it all. And they worked hard. And it's a good document. And they did the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. John Dickman, Township President. I really can't bring anything more to the table as far as the points that have already been brought up tonight, but I feel I can punctuate a couple of things. As far as the transparency and information issue goes, very few people in the township, I feel, knew that as far as the bus project goes, that with the governor signing PA 233, township refusal was off the table. CIP could have just as easily gone to the state and pursued approval through them, through the MPSC, as it could through the township. They chose to work through the township. I think that speaks a lot towards CIP. They want to work with the people that they're going to affect. And I have to commend the Township Board and the Planning Commission for the work they did, for the negotiations that they did with CIP to get us where we are with this ordinance going forward. That being said, as far as the tornado sirens go, again, I have to put forward a personal experience. The May 15th tornado, which everybody seems to be pointing to as far as Comstock not having these warning sirens. The roof of my daughter's barn was gone due to that tornado a full 4 minutes before the warning was issued. And damage was noted west of her location before that. So the warning sirens really would have come too late, which kind of tells me one of two things. One, were the sirens really going to do us any good? And it being that late at night, would anybody have been outside in the middle of a thunderstorm to hear them? Because our last go-around of the sirens, there was one basically 3/4 of a mile from my house. I was never able to hear it during any severe weather. All that being said, I want to stand here tonight and I want to commend everybody, not only on the Township Board, but on the Planning Commission. I was talking to the supervisor at one point and he mentioned the word public service. And that is a calling, that I'm glad the members of this commission have. I appreciate you very much. Some of you I know on a personal level. Some of you are my neighbors. And each and every one of you, I appreciate you all. Thank you for the jobs you do. Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay. I don't really think it matters what my last name is, but the normal people aren't here tonight. So I want to just say a quote from a Facebook post. When so many of our neighbors feel unheard, it's a sign that people want their voices back at the table. And I think that stands for everybody, not just the Facebook warriors, not just the people who antagonize and who drag down anybody who doesn't share their matter of opinion. The other question is, how come this board did not run like this for the past 4 years? Well, I guess it's been a year now that you guys have been this collective board. But what's changed? Or maybe who's changed? What kind of initiatives and what kind of visions now come in and run this board? Do you think it's right to drag people down that don't share your same opinion that benefit just you? That Facebook post that I read is from Soil Friends. It is a direct quote from the supervisor's personal business inviting people to come and support the recall of his peers that don't align with him. And it's disgusting. It's disrespectful. And if that was my work environment, I can tell you right now, that would be hostile work environment all day long. Because it's just not right. Grow up. Let's support the community that you all ran to support, that you all came to be a better part of. Do you not want, every single person up here made a good point in saying, keep the people informed. People, maybe elderly people can't keep up with, phones and things like that. Put a program out there. Hey, we have somebody that will volunteer, because there's plenty of people that get on Facebook and talk and yammer and downgrade anybody that doesn't, maybe they have time to come and volunteer and help these elderly people sign up for phones, help these people get the notifications that they need. I know my time's almost up. I'm watching it too. But be a collective board. Stop dragging other people down that don't align with your views, that don't support your own personal businesses.
Thank you, ma'am. If there's no further citizen comment, we'll be moving along to announcements for departments, boards, and commissions. Larry, do you have anything for us this evening?
Good evening, Larry Stahauer, Road Commission, Kalamazoo. I'm your liaison commissioner. I can't speak on behalf of the board yet because we're just entering our workshop regarding budget. Got delayed with the new road fund, so that's a real blessing. I can say conceptually, our staff is approaching it to increase PAR funds slightly. We really appreciate the Township commitment to the matching part. With the new road funds, we understand there will not be a match required, and we're looking to do a similar amount of dollars for local roads. Distinguish those from primary in the county. Semantics there confuse people. State level, they talk of local roads as county roads. County, we have county local, county primary. But we're very hopeful to see an increase in road funding for your township, a portion of those without match. So I want to just stay at concept level, not dollars. And then we are getting some calls about snow plowing, the heavy storm. I saw some streets plowed. I see some plowed and are still rough, and I'm hearing some haven't been plowed out yet. So bear with us, and we appreciate your patience. That's all right now.
Any questions for Larry? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Director Deisler?
Good evening, Steve Deisler, Comstock Center DDA. I wanted to thank you for allowing us to come and take a couple quick minutes and go over our budget, our preliminary 2026 DDA TIF budget, and the CIP request that our DDA board approved on a preliminary basis, and want to give you some more information on these two documents. I did put in front of you, hopefully you have it there, copies of those two documents. And I wanted to introduce or acknowledge either our chair of our DDA, Sandra Catchy, and our vice chair, Jeffrey Townsend. With that in mind, excuse me, I want to make you understand that these preliminary budgets went to our DDA board on October 8th. Both were reviewed, tweaked, and approved. So it's been out there, it's been in our minutes. I think a copy of those minutes have been given to you in the past. We hopefully will be able to answer some questions for you tonight or at the next meeting of the board, which is a public hearing on our budget. Just to go over initially the preliminary budget. The revenues that you see in that category represent $22,485 in TIF funds that we acquire annually. That has not gone up significant over the last few years, and that's why our goal is to increase economic development so we can build that TIF program and funding source to do more things in the district. $2,000 in interest income is what we're projecting as a revenue source for 2026. We are also expecting to get $5,000 in grant funds from ITC. This is a second layer of grants for our facade improvement program that we began a little over a year ago. And then finally, you'll see in the category of our proposed budget, $57,854. That is a carry forward from our current fund balance. That would balance the budget for DDA this year. So a total budget or revenue of $87,339. And if you compare that to the expenditures that we're proposing to spend next year, just to highlight some of the key items here on the budget sheet, $21,819 for the director's position. $45,000 is what we've been spending over the last couple of years on beautify Comstock. That covers a variety of different things in terms of maintenance and planters and flowers and banners and gateway improvements. So that is really a line item that has not changed over the last couple of years, and we propose that we keep it at $45,000. Legal services, we've had it at $5,000 last year. We're expecting to keep it at that level this year in case we need some support from our attorney in terms of we're in the process of reviewing our bylaws, and like this past year, we hired a legal attorney to help us with some real estate activity. So we're expecting about to identify about $5,000 at this time. And then finally, below that capital outlay, we want to keep $3,000 in that for some equipment supplies. We may be going out and we will be going out and rebidding out our maintenance contract for 2026 that would take care of planters and watering and those kind of things. So we may be looking at doing it in-house and may need some equipment to help us do that. So we put $3,000 in that line item. So looking at the expenditures compared to the revenues, we have a balanced budget if we are able to take the $57,854 out of our 2025 fund balance. That would cover the budget for 2026. I want to jump now to the capital improvement program. This is, as you well know, a category or a program that the township allows and utilizes, resources, dollars that come in, and they can use for very special projects. And in the past, we have secured up to $50,000, up to $50,000 in economic development and $40,000 in beautify. So over the years, we've been lucky enough to receive from you some available funds that went to our programs. The last year in 2024-25, that has been cut back significantly. We went from $90,000 in 2024 to zero in 2025. So we have not utilized any capital improvement funds that you have allocated in the past, and we think we would like to reallocate or re-request some funds for 26. We just feel that we have some potential projects that need to be reevaluated. We were here about a year ago and got your support through a resolution supporting our redevelopment project on the riverfront. That has kind of been, I don't want to say, we've been unsuccessful in 2025. We worked very hard to secure dollars to match some grants and to raise enough funds to acquire property, I'm sorry to say that we weren't able to reach that goal. So we are rethinking our strategic plan for economic development, stepping back from a major redevelopment project on the riverfront that we shared with you a year ago, and starting to look at maybe some smaller projects that we can handle and fund through not only the DDA budget, maybe support from CIP, but also further grants that could help us along. So with that in mind, I want you to understand that, we think there are a lot of projects out there that we can support, and I won't get into each one, but our Economic Development Committee is going to be looking at those at the end of this year and early next, and trying to prioritize what one or two key economic development projects we would work on. And furthermore, we feel that based on some purchases and changes to some of our businesses downtown, we think we're going to need some additional facade improvement grant funds beyond the $5,000 grant that we got. So that's one of the reasons why we're asking for a $50,000 allocation through TIF. Of course, those are just a request at this time, a wish list. We just hope you'll earmark some dollars for economic development, beautification, so we can expand those programs and continue growth in the district. I think I want to compliment our DDA board for working hard this past year, and you have seen maybe a few of the small improvements we've made, but I think you're going to see some changes in 2026, and we hope to garner some further support from our businesses and partners that we've been working with over the last year. So with that, if I can open it up any questions, or we can wait until the public hearing on the 15th and answer your questions then. But again, please reach out to us. Our next meeting is on the 17th, where we hope to have our own public hearing on the budget and hopefully adopt it at the same time based on your feedback on the 15th. So with that, any questions? Sandra, Jeffrey, any
questions, guys?
No, I don't have any. Look at this.
Do you have anything further?
No.
Thank
All
you.
set.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving along to the consent agenda, looking for approval of budget adjustments and approval of minutes from November 17th, 2025.
Supervisor Martin, I have a change for the approval for the minutes for November 17th. On page 8, during the rezoning for ML Avenue, I asked to have a vote taken to abstain, and it was granted. And then below that, it says after I did abstain, that I did vote, which I did not. So that needs to be corrected, please.
And I just had one that was on page 9, I believe. Let's see here. Oh, page 10, actually. My name was just spelt wrong. It's Men Martin, and it's Ben Martin. We'll change it to that.
Can you specify where on page 10, Supervisor?
Yep, at the bottom of the after the general fund budget discussion, it says mover, Men Martin.
Oh, yes, gotcha.
No problem there. Anybody have anything else? I'll be looking for a motion of approval with the changes presented.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the amendments to the minutes.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving along through presentations, through business, past fire and rescue, and into planning and zoning. This evening, we have a text amendment, accessory structure ordinance.
All right, so I believe you were presented with one ordinance, or two ordinances, one for the residential accessory structures and chickens combined, and then the BES. Just wanted to lay that out for you all. It's not included in the packet, but you all should have it. So many months ago, maybe back in May, the Planning Commission undertook the task of revising our residential accessory structure ordinance. This was due to the past year. We've gotten a lot of, not complaints, but a lot of comments from residents about how our setbacks were too restrictive and how the amount of floor space they were allowed was not enough. We revised this, and it was about a 6-month process to get here today. So I'll go over a few of the main changes, and I'll take any questions after that. So this began, one of the commissioners had the idea that maybe the garages should no longer count towards the accessory structure allotment, as it currently does. So while we were working through this ordinance, we created a line in here, it's not here anymore, that stated 600 square feet of the garage will no longer count. After working through that, we said that really is kind of confusing, so we decided to just up the permitted total floor space 600 square feet to accommodate for any garages people may have. So that's why you can see that in the right-hand category of permitted total floor space, those numbers have been bumped up 600 square feet to accommodate for any garages. Going downwards, under number 5, the height previously was 18 feet for acres less than a parcel, or parcel less than an acre, and 22 feet for parcels plus an acre, or acre plus. That is now 25 feet across the board. Also looking down, we defined what a rear yard is, just for further clarification. And previously, if a structure was 200 square feet or less, you were allowed to be 5 feet from the property line, no matter the height. But as it is written now, and it also was, if it was 201 plus square feet, then the structure had to be placed, the height of the structure away from the property line. For example, 10 feet tall structure, 10 feet setbacks. We got a lot of concerns from that and from the residents. So as a blanket setback, it is now 5 feet. No matter how tall the structure is or the size, all accessory structures, pole barns, garages, sheds, can now maintain just a 5-foot setback minimum. Looking forward to number 6, there was some confusion in the next part of our ordinance about if vacant lots can have accessory structures. After a lot of discussion, the commission decided that structures utilized for ag land on ag purposes may be exempt. Sorry, I'll backtrack. So they decided no, if you have vacant land, you cannot have a accessory structure. You need to have a principal purpose. But then they decided that ag land for ag purposes may be exempt with a special land use, is what I believe is how they took that. So only if you're zoned ag and you're using the land for ag, can you have an accessory structure without a home. Looking to page 16, there's really just a few clerical updates, going digital instead of requiring 12 printed copies. And that is all the main changes for accessory structure ordinance.
Any questions for Casey? Treasurer Bloomfield, do you have anything?
No, but,
Or anything you'd like to add?
no, her and Kyle did a really good job helping us work through this. So thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Trustee McIver?
No, I have nothing, thank you.
Clerk Bochamp?
I am a little confused. I'm sorry, that first part, I was trying to see where you were referring to. You were saying something about 2,000 feet or something. Can you go over that section again?
Yeah, the garages
Yes, please.
section? Okay, so when we initially began the task of working this ordinance, the commissioners discussed no longer having garages count as accessory structures. And so then we put a little clause in, it's no longer in here. So this just explain why that permitted total floor space went up. There was going to be a line here that said, garages 600 square feet and under do not apply to these numbers up here. But instead of doing that, we just upped every one of those numbers 600 square feet to accommodate for any garages. So instead of having 2 different calculations to worry about, we just put it all into that category, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Pratt?
No.
Trustee Amos? Trustee Cherry? Thank you, Casey and Kyle and the Planning Commission. I'm sure the residents appreciate it. looking for a motion?
There's actually one ordinance that has both the dwelling structure and the chicken ordinance.
So cover that
in
ordinance?
one. And just as a side note, it did not make it into the agenda. This will be ordinance number 563.
And so the chickens are right along in
They're
the
in
same?
the same ordinance.
Okay. And that's together is 563. Okay.
So I'll take away on the chickens. Fewer changes to this one. So let's see. We also received resident feedback that the 6 chickens allowed across the board for residential was not fair, and they wanted to have more flexibility for that. Previously, if you had 50 acres of residential land, you were only allowed 6 chickens. If you had an acre of residential land, 6 chickens. So 6 chickens across the board. So the Planning Commission worked hard on this for about 6 months as well. And so they have modified this to that these rules below shall only apply to residential districts and ag parcels zoned 5 acres or less. Because previously, if you were zoned ag and had a 1/4 acre, you could have unlimited chickens. Now they have added ag to this list if it is zoned 5 acres or less. So they must follow these rules as well. You can see a graded scale here based on lot size and hen total, with the max being 5 acres or more, allow 26 hens, or 5 acres or more, allow 26 hens. And then looking down to 2B, previously, we had our application for chicken coop permits, and the chicken coop could not be higher than 7 feet and could not exceed 90 square feet. The planning commissioners really looked into chicken standards and decided that if you have 26 hens, you cannot have just 90 square feet of coop. So they have instead cut out and omitted that that clause, and now state chicken coops and pens shall be regulated as accessory structures and shall comply with all applicable standards, meaning somebody has 26 hens, they could make a 1,000 square foot coop, that would just take out from the accessory structure. So if they're willing to sacrifice more space for the chickens, that would just cut out from their pole barn usage. That's really the only major change. There was one more omission on page 22, because this one stated that this section shall not regulate the keeping of chickens where farming is permitted use, but now that we are regulating ag acre or ag parcels, 5 acres or less, that one can no longer stand because farming is permitted in ag. So that had to be cut to make sure that our new standards could apply.
Any questions for Casey? Trustee Cherry?
If I'm recalling what you said correctly, residential, they can have 6 hens, they don't have to be ag?
So that has changed. So I'll break it down. So if you're residential, you have to follow this. And if you're zoned ag and you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 acres, you have to follow this. If you're ag and zoned 6 acres plus, you don't have to worry about it.
Gotcha, okay, I kind of recall that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Amos? Trustee Pratt?
I'm good also.
Clerk Bochamp?
Questions?
Trustee MacGyver?
I'm all set, thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Casey. I'd be looking for a motion on ordinance number 563.
I move that we approve the first reading of ordinance number 563.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. Roll call vote?
Trustee MacGyver?
Yes.
Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you, Casey. Yep. Moving along to the text amendment for battery energy storage system ordinance.
Okay, so with the moratorium being placed back in January, the Planning Commission and Moratorium Committee, which was created, has been working on this ordinance for about a year now. And in your packet, you have the red line version showing every change that has been made since really when we started kicking into it in March. The document is 20 pages. Some people should go page by page. If there's any questions, and open the floor for questions. Because there are quite a few major changes to this, so I don't know how you wanted to proceed with that.
Maybe we ask Attorney Thaw. Attorney Thaw, do you have any advice for us since there's so much to this?
I would just say that, if the board has reviewed it, I would just probably go as to asking questions of Casey. You've had the materials in your packet, and you've hopefully reviewed them all in detail. I would just probably say, ask her questions about it if you have questions. Otherwise, you may want to make comments about it, but I wouldn't make her go line by line through the ordinance unless you feel like you need her to.
And I believe we did that at the moratorium committee meetings and the planning commission. So maybe what we could do is comments or questions for Casey, and then after that, we'll look for a motion, and then we'll go into discussion before a vote. So if anybody has any questions or comments for Casey?
I read it, and I don't recall having any questions. I mean, it seems very solid. The planning commission did, and the moratorium committee did a fantastic job. So it was good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cherry. Trustee Amos?
I guess I would just say the same thing, that everybody did a lot of work on this, and we did the best we could. Thank you.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes, thank you. I've had a chance to review this both before we got a clean copy today from Attorney Thal, and I think it's a good ordinance. I think it is an improvement over the first one, and it's also being able to finish this before the actual moratorium ends in December is very important. I think Attorney Thal and myself had commented a few meetings back that we could get this done in this year. I know there had been some support to continue it on into 2026. In fact, that discussion came back in February of this year, and I didn't agree with it then. I didn't agree with it recently. I thought it could be completed. It was. I commend the commissioners for doing a job. It has been improved. I think when we all took a vote back in January of 2025 to put a moratorium in effect, that we all had concerns about the closeness to the school. But at that point in time, too, there were no options from the dialogue that has been initiated from the Township and CIP and vice versa. We had options. And once that came, I forget the exact date, but back July or August, then with the options coming up and the search by CIP to look for other sites than that particular site, I think that was a point in time that the ice, the dam went away or blew up there. Anyway, there were some good points here, improvements in the dialogue that Supervisor and Attorney Thal had with CIP. Looks to have been very productive, and there not only is improvements from that dialogue, but a sense of more value for the township if we put the ordinance in effect and if it's agreed to, and going on further dialogue with that company. So I appreciate all the work that's been put in, and I'm glad that there was a conclusion to this. I don't like extending things. I've never have. And if the 6-month time period that was mentioned at, I believe, our last meeting, if that had been passed, overall, we would have been looking at close to 3 years for one ordinance, and that's not acceptable. So again, I thank all the people who had a part in getting to where we're at right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Clerk Beauchamp?
I think the Planning Commission and Moratorium Committee did a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of due diligence, received a lot of public feedback on this ordinance, and I think to echo what everyone else says, it's definitely an improvement on the ordinance we have, and it does make me a lot more comfortable that we now have the possibility of battery energy storage system coming in through the township, and the township having a little bit of more control on what that could look like. So good job, and I am in support of this.
Thank you, Clerk Beauchamp. Trustee McIver?
I guess I'd be echoing the other members' comments so far, but the way I see it, this new ordinance, and these people had to work on it really hard and a long time to come up with what they did, but it looks to me like it's going to solve a whole litany of issues. It potentially could anyway. This is going to make this a more, it'll make it a project that more people, if not everybody, can be on board with. I shouldn't say everybody, but I appreciate everything these guys have done for us as citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McIver. Treasurer Bloomfield?
This was a long process. Yes, it was a long process. This ordinance is so much further than the first one that was done. And because of that, the way advances and changes are coming with this industry, this may have to be revisited again in a few years or shortly thereafter. And Casey's shaking her head also, yes. Just because of the technology changing, and we just need to stay on top of this. So just a heads up with that. It was long and difficult. We had a lot of challenges. We had people who stuck with us the whole time, residents, board members, some who didn't. We dealt with some ex parte, and we still do with that, and it's very concerning. So hopefully that gets addressed yet. But all in all, the board worked very well together with the Moratorium Committee, and we learned a lot, and especially going down to Coldwater and visiting that one. I think that's where I really got an education from as well. And Casey did put together a book. I will let Supervisor Martin talk with that because that was his request. So I wish you would bring that up so the residents have an opportunity to look at that. Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. And yes, thank you to Casey and Kyle for at times wondering what the group was up to and where are we going with this, and are we making progress, and sometimes you move forward and sometimes you get a little stuck and then you break through and you keep scratching around and you find ways to improve. So that will be one thing that we thought together as a commission, that we could have something tangible for the residents from the information side, that they could grab a book that we'll have here at the township with all the presentations and all the documentation, letters from the developer that show that, hey, we're beginning the process through the state. Just a way to put it on paper to show what we did, and if anyone wants to learn further, I think one of the biggest things that many people may not understand is that the state law allows a project like this to be within 300 feet of a home or a school. And that is a mechanism for a developer to use because townships do go into moratoriums and they bluff. And so that was the first idea that I had, was to make it legally defensible. By being in a moratorium, we begin working and developing a committee and having meetings in the public eye that were recorded that showed each meeting that we were working and we were doing the best that we could to improve the ordinance. I mentioned it time and time again, none of this was to discredit any work from any prior planning commission. They got started with what they had, and sometimes when you have business to handle at a planning commission meeting and there's other things to have, you only have so much time. So to be able to develop a moratorium committee with upwards of 7 to 9 people and just have a dialogue with that just being the one topic of discussion to work on, I think that was really helpful. I think that some people may not want this project at all, and I understand, but there's 300 feet from the state. If we say no, it could be worse than what we've got. The old ordinance was better than the state. It had 500 feet. And this new one, in particular to schools or sensitive land uses like a hospital, a daycare, somewhere where people wouldn't really have means of evacuating themselves quickly, it's 2,000 feet. we were able to kind of look at it from a standpoint of if this is a burden to some degree to our community, how can we offset it with community benefits? And so we were able to, really increase the community host agreement at an effort from going from $1 million to $6.6 million. And I know that people don't want to hear when it comes to land, environment, safety, money, like, one should never outweigh the other. But the state law has setbacks and it has money. And so that is the part that's on the table. Those things are to be dealt with, and you want to address them the best you can. And it's really important for the residents to understand that not only if we have an ordinance, this isn't the end. They have to work through the planning commission. The planning commission has to approve where the site plan is, and there's a lot more layers to the onion. The fire chief will be able to have dialogue and has questions and concerns and list of things that we may need. And so there is a lot more to uncover as we work through this process. But those things further on down the road can't begin or even get started without an ordinance. And we were told pretty firmly that if we don't have an ordinance, that they're just going to go to the state. So I think with what we had, we did the best we could. And thank you to staff and everybody, residents who attended the meetings. The planning commission, that was great. We were able to do joint meetings and just keep working at it. So I appreciate everybody's help. Anything further for us, Casey?
Nope.
Any questions for Casey? Be looking for a motion.
Just to clarify too, this is ordinance number 564.
I make a motion, we approve the text amendment ordinance for 564 battery energy storage system.
Support.
Motion.
I would just say that's for first reading.
For first reading. Can I amend that?
Maybe just say it again.
Oh, Lord. Okay. I make a motion for the first reading ordinance 564 battery energy storage system.
One more point of clarity. You said, I make a motion for a first reading, approve or deny. Just the action.
To approve.
Okay, if you could just state it one more time.
Okay, third time's a charm, y'all. I got this. Okay, so now I'm lost. No, I make a motion for the first reading to approve ordinance 564 battery energy storage system.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Cherry, supported by trustee Pratt. Board discussion? Does anybody have anything that they would like to add? Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Trustee MacGyver?
No, thank you.
Clerk Beauchamp?
Nothing additional.
Trustee Pratt?
Nothing.
Trustee Amos?
I'm good.
Trustee Cherry?
No, it took me 3 times to get that.
I would just say that if anybody wants to, to learn what the changes were, the last meeting that we had as a joint moratorium planning commission meeting that answered a lot of questions. This book that we'll have available, Casey, when do you think that would be available? And maybe in a couple weeks?
No, so I can have it prepared by the end of the week, but it won't be on the website until Brett returns back to office, so probably next Monday.
Okay.
Monday, yep.
So it'll be a little time for you can see a physical copy of something. Then it will be available online if somebody doesn't want to stop in. You can look at the moratorium meetings on Public Media Network. And I think that would be the best way without keeping everybody here all evening to see what we did on the changes. So be looking for a roll call vote.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee Cherry.
Yes.
Trustee MacGyver.
Yes.
Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Moving along to Clerk Beauchamp for the November 4th, 2025 election report.
Okay, so for a local election, which is usually honestly painfully slow, we had a surprisingly busy election day. 3,138 residents voted in the election total, 2,003 of those being absentee voters. Early voting was not available this election. So that's 24% of our registered voters. Comparatively, in November of 2023, which was an election like this one, only 18% voted. So we had quite a jump in voter turnout. There's a lot of work that goes into running an election, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our excellent election and clerk staff and our precinct workers. It's a very long day, and we have an amazing team that stepped up and served our community well.
Thank you, Clerk Beauchamp. Any questions?
Okay, my next item. At the last meeting, I was unexpectedly absent. I had asked for the farmland preservation item to be presented by the superintendent due to the time-sensitive nature of it. But the supervisor brought some of my other agenda items forward without my consent and conducted a vote on these items. This is not only not standard procedure, but it also undermines both transparency and integrity, not to mention being respectful to other board members. I am bringing these items back today. So I am asking, I understand at the last meeting that there was a discussion on addressing complaints, and the board had decided to call a special meeting to hear an ethics presentation by Attorney Thal. What I had hoped to address were, which is fine and good and I'm all for that, but what I had hoped to address were complaints that I had received. I hear the residents who have expressed these complaints, and I wanted Attorney Thal to address the complaint or the issue about me voting on the fire department, and also the issue of the fire chief and nepotism with his wife.
So with regard to the first issue with you voting on fire department issues, and I think it's consistent with what your prior attorney had also told the board, that there is no conflict of interest with you voting on fire department issues, even though your brother is the fire chief. It's pretty clear under the law in Michigan that that type of family situation does not present a conflict of interest. The AG has even ruled that you could vote on hiring your spouse if you chose to, and that does not violate the ethical rules. So, and it's obviously more distant than that when you're voting on fire department matters. So I would not find any ethical violation in you doing and voting on fire department matters. The second issue with the chief, and then his spouse also works in the fire department, that matter has been addressed previously by the township, and the employee does not report to the fire chief at all. My understanding is that any issues, any reporting go to Superintendent Hess, so that the chief is taken out of that equation, and to avoid any conflicts of interest, because obviously that would present issues if there was direct reporting from the chief regarding his spouse being an employee in the fire department. So that takes it out of the ethical conundrum, and Superintendent Hess then handles the matter, handles any matters that would require oversight.
Sorry, I can comment on that too. It is in our handbook that if that arises, that I sent you the handbook when we did get the complaint, that that is addressed to upper or lower. One person could be their supervisor if it was out of the hands of whoever was married, so they could go down or up, and we chose to go up, so to the next level, which was the superintendent.
So I think that addresses both of those issues.
Okay. So into my next item, I'm also bringing back the question of waiving attorney-client privilege on the Clark Hill report. At the April 21st, 2025 board meeting, Supervisor Martin made a motion to waive attorney-client privilege on the entire report prepared by Attorney McDonald. The motion was seconded by Trustee Amos. It failed. At that time, I voted no to protect the witnesses who participated in the investigation from retaliation. Recently, we lost a longtime employee, largely due to what's in the report. This employee had historical understanding, procedural knowledge, experience, and a great understanding of township operations. This loss puts the township at a disadvantage, and it's more important than ever to protect the township from losing even more employees. Therefore, I make the motion to waive attorney-client privilege on the full Clark Hill report, with the attorney providing any redactions as they deem necessary.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Cherry. Board discussion? Trustee McIver?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Trustee Cherry?
No, I don't need to discuss, no.
Trustee Amos?
Would you state the motion again, please?
Yes. I move that we waive attorney-client privilege on the full Clark Hill report, with the attorney providing any redactions as they deem necessary.
No, I have no comment.
Trustee Pratt?
I need no further information.
Trustee Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes, I have a couple questions. Trustee McIver,
Yes.
was there a committee that was formed for this, that you were part of,
Form for what?
for the Clark Hill report? Do you recall?
No, when we first met, thank you. We first met the attorney from Clark Hill. The only thing that I remember, she wanted to know at the end of the meeting if she could have a couple contacts that she needed to reach out to us, that it would make things a little easier. But as far as a committee, I don't believe so.
Trustee Amos, were you part of a committee or the contact people for this?
Well, I was supposed to be part of a committee, but they never contacted me.
That was part of the problem. We were too hard to get hold of.
Was there anybody else on that committee? Nicole, were you part of that? I don't remember.
I was not. It was Trustee McIver and Trustee Amos.
So we had two people that were supposed to be in charge of that with this attorney, correct? Does anybody else recall that?
I believe that's what it was.
I believe it was for contact information from that attorney.
So you never had any contact with the attorney with regards to how this was going or the direction it was heading? So who did with this, I guess, is my question.
Wait a minute. I did speak with Ms. McDonald at one time, but I don't remember what the conversation was about. But she was, I think it ended up because I was as hard to get hold of as Jerry Amos was, or Trustee Amos, and that she was going to proceed to do it another way. And I told her that's fine. It's fine by me.
Have you read the report?
I went up there to Grand Rapids and read the report that we were able to read.
Have you read it, Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
No, I did not read the report. I was given the report, and it was, I don't know, 40 or 50 pages long. I guess I didn't count them, but it was very long, and so I kind of skimmed through them and read a little bit of it, but not very much. Good. It would have took too long.
I see. Clerk Bochamp, have you read the report?
I have, yes.
Okay. And Trustee Pratt?
Yes, I have.
Supervisor Martin.
I was allotted a specific amount of time here at the township. I went to the meeting and I was more in summary. I just had dialogue with the council, but it was quite long and I wasn't able to have it at my leisure to be able to take it with me or use it or stay in the office for a duration of time to read it. So I have not read it fully. I did at the time make a motion to release it. And I thought, since we were spending money on it, it would be a good idea to let people know what it was about. But at that time, we had 2 attorneys highly recommend to not release it. So I decided that maybe it would be a good idea to back the bus up and not do that.
And which 2 attorneys was that, Supervisor Martin?
Elizabeth White McDonald and Catherine Kaufman.
And Elizabeth White is who?
She was the attorney that the board hired for this investigation.
Okay, thank you. I would like everybody to know that I have never seen this report. I have never read this report. I was out of town for an extended period of time for family medical leave. So whatever's in this report, I guess, is in it. I hope that if this board chooses to release it, I hope they understand the liability for legal action that could come from this. And this township sure doesn't need any more lawsuits. I have nothing to hide, nothing at all. So whatever the board decides to do, I'm good with that. But with that being said, I have also sat next to Attorney Thal, and he has also recommended not to release the report. Have your status changed on that, Attorney Thal?
I've never read the report or seen it, but my only comment was that you should follow your legal advice.
I agree, that's why we have attorneys, and 3 of them are telling us not to release this. So if this board releases it and goes against 3 legal attorneys advising us not to, I guess I hope people are prepared for what's going to happen with it then. Thank you.
Mr. Trustee Amos?
I would like to make the comment that when this was all done, it was told to us, I don't know, am I allowed to?
You can't say anything that was from the closed session, so if you had closed sessions on it, you can't disclose that.
Okay.
Might want to back the bus up.
Okay. Anyway, the reason I didn't read the record, I was given it, and it was an awful lot of stack of papers, and so I did skim through the thing, but I didn't read it. Thank you.
Attorney Thal, or I guess for the board, has anyone talked to the attorney that did the report to have her give the blessing to release this report would be my question?
My impression was that should we vote tonight to release this report, then it would go to Attorney White McDonald to see if it could be redacted to some degree and released. Everyone had, from my memory, everyone had at least an hour, maybe more, to read this report. I read it. I'm having a hard time understanding why other people who had that option did not read it. That's part, I look at it, part of our job as board members to read a report. We all voted 7-0 to have an outside attorney to come in to investigate, and that was at the request of our attorney, Catherine, to do that. We all voted 7-0 to have this done. And we had an option, we had an opportunity to give input. I think most of us did. And apparently most of us did read the report once it came back. And again, another point on our treasurer, even though she had some family matters that she had to attend to, and she did get back eventually, there was opportunity to request that report. It was not here, but was in Grand Rapids, and I'm sure Attorney White would have made that available to you should you have wanted to read the report. Thank you.
So the motion on the table is to release the report, but not really release the report, because we're gonna continue to spend money on a report that we spent $44,000 on, to be recommended by our attorney not to share it, but spend more money to redact a report. So I'm just
for legal protection. The full report will be released.
So the full report's released.
With any redaction the attorney finds necessary.
And what would,
The attorney will have to decide that.
and do we have an estimate of a cost of going through with such a thing? Has anyone asked that attorney how much we would spend on doing such a thing?
No, but we can. I mean, that can be an option to find out. And everyone talks about transparency purposes. I mean, we can't pick and choose necessarily when we want to be transparent, when we don't. You made a valid point in the beginning of wanting to release it. Probably should we have done it then? More than likely, you know. But the fact of the matter remains is a lot of people are still curious about that as well. So that's all.
Thank you, Trustee Cherry. Trustee McIver, I heard you say?
Oh, yeah, I mowed them over a second, sorry. Gotta get a new button on that. It seems to me, as I recall, when the subject came up about the final summary, is that we thought, or at least some of us did, that it might be a good idea to release it just for the transparency aspect of it, to clear up any questions that the residents that were worried or concerned about it had. And that was, as far as I know, that was the sole purpose, because this transparency thing comes up a fair amount. It comes and goes. But that's what as I remember, that's what I believe the reasoning was, transparency and nothing else.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
I recall this as being not an investigation, but since you said that word, I guess it explains my interrogation with Attorney White. So with that being said, my understanding was that this was supposed to be an HR attorney that taught us to work together and get along. So I don't know if anybody else remembers that conversation, but that was again, legal ramifications. Keep that in mind for everybody.
So would it be, a question for the board, 1 second, Trustee Amos, would it be a good idea for us to, before we wait on doing something, to see how much it's gonna cost us before we would decide to do such a thing?
I think it would be appropriate to take a vote this evening. We could ask her, and then it can come back to the board, but I think it's appropriate to vote on what's on the floor.
Trustee Amos?
I guess Trustee Bloomfield said what I was trying to say, that how this was supposed to go and what exactly happened was not the same, in my opinion.
All right, so from my understanding, we don't have a firm recommendation from an attorney that says that we should do this, and we don't know how much it's gonna cost, but we're gonna vote on it tonight, is what I'm...
Yes, that's the stereo.
We'd be looking for a motion.
We already have a motion. In a second.
Let's do a roll call.
Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes?
Supervisor Martin?
No.
Motion carried.
Moving along to Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes, we have Justin here from American Signal Corporation. Justin, thank you for being so patient. Absolutely. Justin is one of our people who would like to talk about the sirens, and I would appreciate some respect for him, please. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. Like she said, my name is Justin Raff. I am one of the regional sales managers for American Signal Corporation. Now, as I understand it, in the capital improvement project.
Justin, is your speaker on?
It's green.
Okay, you're good then.
A little further. How about now? So it's my understanding in the capital improvement project, you guys did not choose American Signal as the vendor preferred for the siren project, should it have gone and moved forward at that time. Since that time, a lot has come out in terms of budget, in terms of going back, going away from sirens, doing this, doing that. Sitting here tonight, I've heard people in favor and in opposition of the sirens. You will have that no matter what. One thing that I heard tonight is, the liability and lawsuits, and it's kind of been an ongoing thing through this entire meeting. There is no legality or liability that falls to having or not having warning sirens. It is a common misconception that we have heard for ages. If that's a determining factor, I would definitely say further research should be done. We've been around since 1942. It's our job to literally save lives every day. Yes, there's phone notifications. Yes, there's, a million different avenues to explore for notifying your public people. However, you guys have Morrill Lake. You have schools galore. You have wildlife. You have nature preserves. You have thousands of acres of just natural habitat. Who brings their phone out on the lake with them in case of an emergency? You talk about the tornado that happened years ago. Yeah, it was 4 miles to the east by the time a warning went off. The system we proposed, there is no yearly fee, but the moment, whether it's severe thunderstorm, tornado, high winds, whatever the case is, that would be up to you guys to choose, that is when your siren system activates. It doesn't have to be a tornado warning. It doesn't have to be anything more than there's a tornado watch. It'll automatically activate your system. So it sounds to me like it was very, I don't know how to necessarily say not rushed, because there was a lot of due diligence put into it. But the question then becomes, I hear budget and I hear money and I hear millage and I hear all sorts of things, and I've never been to one of your meetings before. Granted, I grew up spending my summers an hour and a half from here in Orleans, Michigan on Long Lake. So I'm very familiar with the area. I have family in Kalamazoo. I have family in Lansing. I have family in Orleans. I have friends all over this state and the country. American Signal has been trusted for 80 plus years to save lives. Sirens do just that. I can't speak for the sirens you guys used to have. I can't speak to why you went away from them. That siren system you did have, a lot of people couldn't hear it. A lot of people say it went off too late. Whatever the case is, you guys went away from a siren system for a reason. It came back to the table for a reason. I would ask to definitely revisit it, ask all the questions, get all the answers, find all the facts. For me personally, I question the idea of recommending something where you guys not only have a yearly fee for a software subscription, but it wasn't even the lowest responsive bid to the overall project. If we're talking about money and saving lives, we're not here to make a profit. American Signal is here to save lives. We're not trying to upend everything. There's a reason that our install is quoted direct. We don't like the markup. It's a very simple process. We essentially work for those communities, just like you guys do on the board. You work for your communities. We do the same thing. Ultimately, I guess for me, there's a toolbox. You have phone notifications. You have social media. Somebody has to be behind those things. Siren system's no different. Historically, somebody's always behind a desk to push a button. That's not the case anymore. National Weather Service issues a polygon for this reason, that reason, whatever cap feed you want to set it up as. Your siren system will activate. So, ultimately for me, it's one of those moments where, again, you guys went away from a siren system, it came back to the table. I have to question, why did it come back to the table just to get voted down when the money is there? And again, We weren't even the original vendor chosen. I question that as well. We were the low bid. We don't have a yearly fee. Our maintenance was cheaper. There's a lot of unknowns. Yes, West Shore's in the state of Michigan. They were here 7, 8 years ago when you guys got rid of the system too. Those sirens should last 40, 50, 60 years. So ultimately, I think opting to go away from a siren system, I don't think it's the solution. I think you're going to revisit it in 5, 10 years again. No matter how far phones come, technology advances. It's simple. You guys have a lot of undeveloped land and a lot of people that they don't want to carry a smartphone with them everywhere. They want to detach. They want to enjoy lakes. They want to enjoy the nature trails. They want to do all those things. So I would simply ask to revisit the idea of a siren system. You guys have put the money into the capital improvement project plan already. Where else is it going to go where it protects your citizens? I'm not sure.
Could you speak to hearing sirens, like if you're in your home, the type of sirens that you have?
Very simple solution is sirens are not meant to be heard indoors. Sirens are meant for outdoor notification. If you are inside a building, you're inside your residence, you're not meant to hear those because inside your residence, you probably have the TV on. TV is going to give you that same notification the second it happens. We're not here to notify the indoor as much as we are the people outside enjoying nature, out on the lake, things of that nature. I mean, it's realistically, you guys could have it set up where, only the sirens that are within a polygon go off. Only if the polygon hits a siren does it go off. Or you could have it where the second anything in Kalamazoo County has a tornado warning, your sirens go off. That's a long ways before it gets here if it hits the west side of the county. Now, another option. You guys, budget has been a huge thing of this entire project. There is an alternative option that is not an AC/DC siren, which was at the request of, what was ever quoted initially that we provided a competitive bid on. You can go to a DC primary, have batteries be your primary source, have AC charge those batteries. You can still lose AC power and still have a siren go off. That alone saves you guys $20,000, $30,000 right up top. So it is one of those experiences where we find more and more often that, dollar signs scare people. Decimals instead of commas, people like those. Once you see a comma before the decimal, that's a scary thought. It's a bigger number. But when it's all said and done, what are the lives of your citizens worth? Does the onus fall back to them to afford the siren system? Does it fall to the township? Does it fall to the county? That's something that all has to get figured out. And it sounds like at one point, you guys were ready to take ownership of that, whether it was us, competition, whomever. We just want to make sure that we help in any way we possibly can. Which is simply why I drove from Milwaukee today just to drive back tonight.
Treasurer Bloomfield, any questions?
No, but thank you.
Absolutely.
Trustee MacGyver?
No, thank you.
Clerk Beauchamp?
Thank you for your time.
Trustee Pratt?
None tonight, thank you.
Trustee Amos?
I'm good, thanks.
Trustee Cherry?
No, thank you, and safe drives home.
Thank you guys for the time. I appreciate it.
Maybe you could submit a bid for that second option, so if there's any other ideas, we could take a look.
Absolutely, I will do just that. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Moving along to trustee, deputy discussion and possible action.
Yes, we had a discussion a few months back on this issue. Attorney Thal has written up a resolution. I think everyone has a copy, and he's indicated that we could look at over, discuss it, and proceed with it should we see fit, if I accurately sum that up.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I can go over it if you want me to.
That would be great, thank you.
So, at the direction of the board, I put together this policy. The policy is regarding deputy official participation at board meetings, because the question came up, should they be sitting at the board table? How should they be participating in board meetings? I did some research on this subject, and basically, you know, a clerk has to have a deputy, there has to be a deputy clerk, a treasurer has to have a deputy, there's a deputy treasurer. A supervisor can have a deputy, they don't have to, but if they do, that's possible too. The deputy in all those cases performs the duties of their principal in the case of absence, sickness, death, or other disability of their principal. But the law is very specific that they do not vote on the board. So, and there was a time, if you look at really old case law, I saw cases, but that was before that restriction was put in, where deputies did vote and sit on the board in place of their principal if they were absent, sick, or had died. But they specifically changed the statute to take out that they no longer vote on the township board. And so deputies have no vote on the township board. And then also, if you look at the Charter Township Act, if the supervisor is absent, the board selects one of its members to serve in that capacity as the supervisor moderator for the meeting. It's not the deputy that steps up into the shoes of their principal at the board meeting and serves as moderator. It's the board selects one of their own. Also, for the clerk, if the clerk is absent, it's not the deputy that gets to come in as the clerk for the meeting. It's the board members select one of their own to serve in that capacity. So I think it's pretty clear under the law that there's not really a role for the deputies to serve in capacity as a board member when you have absence, sickness, or death, or other disability of the principal. So what I proposed, following with what the board had discussed at the prior meeting, is a policy that under those circumstances, we'd set out the role of the deputy. So the Charter Township creates the following policy regarding the role of a deputy official at township board meetings where the principal is absent, sick, dead, or under some other disability. So first, the deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, deputy supervisor shall not sit at the dais as the township board member at a regular or special meeting of the township board, and the deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, deputy supervisor should not engage in board member discussion at regular or special meetings of the township board unless called upon by the township supervisor to provide a report of the principal official as part of the listed agenda item. So they can still, there might be a time when they need to make a report for their principal, but they would do so from the lectern at the direction of the township supervisor, acknowledging them to do so. So it still allows them to participate when need be to make a report of their principal, but as part of a board, they don't sit as a board member in the absence. So that's basically the subject matter of this policy. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Trustee Cherry, any questions?
No, it was pretty straightforward. So.
Trustee Amos? Trustee Pratt?
No, that was an excellent presentation. One comment, though, that from our past, Attorney Kaufman had indicated at one meeting that it was a board function to determine this, and I think this resolution fits that. And it was somewhat of a mystery of how this all came about. It still is parts of it. So this, I think, will resolve the issue one way or the other after discussing and voting.
Clerk Beauchamp, any questions?
I don't have a question, but just a comment, because we received this resolution today and it did not make it into the packet. Because we will vote on this evening, I would just ask that it's read aloud so that it can be put into the official record. And it is resolution number 2025-22.
Trustee McIver, any questions?
No, I do not.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Just a couple comments. My deputy has sat up here and filled in for me because of family medical leave, and I appreciate him doing that, and I didn't see a problem with it. I mean, I don't really think the residents care who sits where, as long as the job gets done and the township moves forward. But it makes me kind of giggle over here, being the treasurer, saying, wow, here we are spending money on things that the residents are probably sitting out there shaking their head at. Is this really important to them residents? Who's sitting in their seats, whether they're in the audience being called on or sitting in this chair? And so for me, it's a financial thing again. I'll be interested to see, Mr. Thal, what you charged for this. Thank you.
It's a matter of a standard practice across the board. When Clerk Beauchamp was gone, nobody invited her deputy up here. Nobody even asked if she was in the audience. So if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it across the board. It needs to be standardized.
And if I could, and part of this discussion, when we had talked about this before, and I called several people, MTA, and this simply having a deputy sit here does not happen across the state. I think Attorney Kaufman mentioned one instance that she knew of that happening, but there's no other instances that this was approved. Even in our own township before, when we, prior to our board and this several boards back, when we had a board member missing, that deputy did not sit in her place up here. So this is a standard, has been a standard across many counties across the state. And again, what happened, transpired here, was something that the board was not informed of. There had been comment when it first came up, but the whole process moved forward and the board did not have a chance to vote on it. Later on, Attorney Kaufman indicated it would be and should be a board decision. And so again, that's what we're doing here as I see it. Thank you.
An example of if anybody had a deputy and they were to sit in the chair and not be a voting member, I wouldn't be particularly bothered by it. The principal does select the deputy, and that deputy does take an oath. And so as long as the job gets done and there's representation in the chair, that was my thought, especially if somebody did have an instance where they were going to be gone for an extended period of time. So I think somebody as a deputy that took an oath sitting in a chair to be representation, I would not be bothered by it one way or another. And I do remember we had many months of meetings regarding attorney expenditures, and I'm not in favor for this, but I see where we're going. Trustee Amos?
I'd just like to say that William did a lot of work on this stuff, on the clerk's job while she was gone, and
treasurer.
I'm sorry, the treasurer's job while she was gone, and he did a really good job of reporting all this, and I personally have no problem with him setting up there. I mean, he did the work. Why can't he sit in there in that chair? That's my opinion.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. I do have a deputy clerk by law, and I do think that I do disagree with your stance. The people sitting up here weighing in, though they can't vote, are elected members. And the people in the audience elected us to sit up here, not our deputies. We appointed our deputies to carry out our statutory duties. This applies to my deputy clerk as well. I don't feel that it is appropriate for her to sit up here and weigh in on decisions that the board is deliberating on. She was not elected to do so. However, I do feel that she should be available to perform the statutory duties in my absence. And I think that applies not only to clerk, obviously, but treasurer and supervisor, deputy as well.
Thank you. Anything further? Be looking for a motion on this matter.
Would it be appropriate to just read this and then we can make a motion on it? Okay. Resolution 2025-2022. Policy regarding deputy official participation at board meetings. Whereas the Charter Township of Comstock clerk is required to have a deputy clerk pursuant to MCL 41.69. The deputy clerk performs the duties of the clerk in the case of the absence, sickness, death, or other disability of the clerk, but shall not have a vote on the township board. And whereas the Charter Township of Comstock Treasurer is required to have a deputy treasurer pursuant to MCL 41.77, the deputy performs the duties of the treasurer in the case of absence, sickness, death, or other disability of the treasurer, but shall not have a vote on the township board. And whereas the Charter Township of Comstock supervisor may have a deputy supervisor pursuant to MCL 41.61, the deputy supervisor performs the duties of the supervisor in the case of the absence, sickness, death, or disability of the supervisor, but shall not have a vote on the township board. And whereas the deputies have no vote on the township board in the absence of the supervisor or clerk, another board member is appointed to carry out the respective meeting duties of the supervisor or clerk rather than their deputy, and the township board desires to clarify the role of the respective deputies at township board meetings. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that the Charter Township of Comstock creates the following policy regarding the role of a deputy official at township board meetings where the principal is absent, sick, dead, or under some other disability. 1, the deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, and deputy supervisor shall not sit at the dais with the township board members at a regular or special meeting of the township board, and the deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, and deputy supervisor shall not engage in board member discussion at a regular or special meeting of the township board unless called upon by the township supervisor to provide a report of the principal official as part of the listed agenda item. And 3, this policy shall supersede any conflicting policy. So I move that we approve resolution 2025-22.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. Roll call vote.
Trustee Amos? No. Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
No.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee Cherry?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Motion carried.
Moving along to Superintendent for an ordinance report.
All right, my ordinance officer is here, so he's going to give that report.
Good evening. All right, so I am a few months behind on reports, so I'm gonna go 1 month at a time, ask guys if you have any questions, and move on to the next one. So 4th of September, I was in court only 3 times. 12 citations were issued in September, one of them being a parking ticket. I did have 34 complaints, 12 warnings were handed out. Altogether, we had 9 corrected violations adding up to that. We did do a few property cleanups, 2 on private, 4 on public, and I ended that month with 3 open cases. Any questions on September? All right. October, I went to court 8 separate times. 5 parking tickets were issued, no other citations. Did have 17 complaints, 6 warnings were given out. I did find 6 violations. We did end up with 20 corrective violations total leading up to that, and we did 8 public cleanups in October. And I ended that month also with 3 cases. With 3 cases left open. Any other questions? No? Sweet. November. Went to court 3 times. I had 8 complaints, 2 warnings were given. We did correct 4 additional violations. We did 1 private property cleanup and 5 public, and we ended the month with 2 open cases. November was pretty big for us. For starters, I wound up going with the fire department out to the island underneath the Sprinkle Bridge. We first tried to take a boat out there, but to take a boat requires water, and the river was 4 inches deep at one point, so that did not happen. We thought about wading across, but it was also too deep in some spots, and I don't like getting wet, so that was not going to happen. So then we decided to throw a ladder over the side of the bridge and go down that way, which was the first for me. So we did do that. We did find homeless there. I've been working with Kalamazoo Township and the DNR on getting that removed. As it is DNR property, I don't have any powers over there to remove them. Neither does Kalamazoo County, but we do share the island, so we're trying to work that one out. Kalamazoo Township has better connections with the DNR than what I do, so I kind of turned it over to them and let them work on it. I did tell the fire department if they keep going out there that they can always call me. I'll go out there as well. As the two people who are out there, they know me pretty well, so I can kind of help smooth things over if they have to go back out there. What brought us out there was they were burning something that was causing smoke to come over the Sprinkle Bridge, and people couldn't see across the Sprinkle Bridge, so it was kind of a big deal. The only issue was trying to get down the bridge. Also in November, one of the complaints I've gotten since I started working here, and I'm sure this happens all over, was how come we go after people who have small violations, yet houses just a couple blocks down have these major things that are happening, whether it be drugs, chop shop type stuff, or things along that nature. And I made it very clear that when I took over in July that I was going to do some change and try to help clean up Comstock in a better way. November 20 at 9:30 a.m., we conducted our very first raid alongside Michigan State Police's SCAR team, which specializes in commercial automotive recovery, so chop shop type deal. We had support from the Kalamazoo County Sheriff Department, CPS, as well as EGLE, which is a former DEQ, and County Health and Environmental Services as well. This is the first time ever that the township has ever led or conducted a raid against the house. And this is the biggest operation to date as well. Between 6 government agencies, we had 25 people who were there, and then between 2 private companies, we had an additional 5 people. In the process, we were able to remove quite a few illegal vehicles. MSP wound up impounding a couple of them. That meant their standard what they would need to move on with their case. We also identified very unsafe living conditions for both adults and children who are also on the property that should not have been there. This is a very big deal. 24 hours leading up to this event, things got a little exciting. I wound up having come in after hours to help wrap things up. I know for a hot minute we talked about not moving through with it due to officer safety. Me getting more holes in me is not something that I want, but we were able to mitigate that through other means, and we were able to move forward. This is something that I'm going to continue to move forward with. These relationships took about 7 months to build up. This case took about 7 months to get to where we are now. Nothing is fast moving, but this is a really big deal for both my department and the township. We do have other houses in mind that we are keeping an eye on, and we will be moving forward with it. Any cases? Any questions?
No cases.
All right.
Any questions for Dakota?
Oh, sorry. No, but that's amazing. That is amazing. Good job. Supervisor Martin, he's got a question.
Maybe during public comment.
Yeah, I do. Yes, my officer, any mean our officer?
During public comment, please. Dakota, thank you for your work.
Thank you, Dakota.
And stay safe.
Yes.
Superintendent report?
Yeah. So just a few things. Next Wednesday at 4 p.m., we're having the Casper Street traffic calming. This is kind of the first that we've done in our community. It was with the Road Commission and doing a research on how to make the roads safer by slowing traffic down. So they are going to give their report on what their findings are and what the resolution is to do that. So if anybody wants to join, that's at 4 o'clock. Just to add to the Road Commission, at the meeting last week, kind of give you an update. So we every year have an opportunity to match what they call PAR funds. So the PAR funds this year, he said, went up a little bit. They're roughly around $250,000 that the Road Commission will grant us with a match of $250,000 from our side. What he talked about at the extra road funds was due to the legislature taking some taxes away and then the marijuana tax was increased. Those monies will be available through each road commission. Our road commission, kudos to them, was gracious enough to do a formula by per mile road. So that, in essence, gives us an extra $226,250 that we do not have to match, that we can use on, and he mentioned primary roads and secondary roads. That would be on the secondary roads, because primary is their responsibility. For instance, like River Street is a primary, but somebody's neighborhood. So that gives us a lot more funding for the roads. They were a little proactive because there is an appeal on the marijuana tax, and if that goes away, that there's a chance the road commission could lose that funding. I'm not sure if that's how that's going to go, but I was glad that they went ahead and are allowing us to at least get bids, so that, anticipating that money will be here. So we'll be putting out that in early January on what roads we're going to do and the extra money. So if anybody wants to look at that. I talked about the Lombard property, I think a couple of meetings back. I did meet with the land bank. The land bank is kind of going a different route in trying to develop on just land bank property in itself. I think it was about a year or so ago, we as a township board decided to pay the back tax purchase on that Lombard property, which was $30,000. We did get a grant from the housing for like $368,000, but the price tag for that to refurb that fourplex came in about $800,000. So we applied for a MISTA grant, didn't get the MISTA grant. So I met with the land bank and finding if they had interest with that. They walked the property. They did have interest. I am still waiting for the county to see if they would refund us our $30,000, and then we could proceed and let the land bank, because the land bank has a lot more funding opportunities to make that fourplex into reality for lower income housing. So. And then board members, we do have, again, our family donation. You probably saw it back in our big room there. So if anybody would like to donate, there is a list you can check off. But we donate every year to the staff to multi-families, buying them their Christmas gifts. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Superintendent Hess. Moving along to reports, we have bills paid November 20th, 2025. Informational future action items. We're moving along to public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor. No other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you're welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. Contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Good evening. Look at the pattern in this township, and you don't need me to connect the dots. They connect themselves. The DDA is supposed to be a volunteer board, yet most members only show up to vote. The director does all the work. One member was even absent for most of the entire year until it came up for them to be personally benefited. I pointed that out as a conflict, and it was ignored. Since then, the value of the deal has doubled, and nothing still has been done. That's not oversight. That's looking the other way. The same pattern shows up with deputies. This board doesn't have a problem with its deputies. It has a problem with me. My very first meeting filling in for the treasurer, the majority of this board restricted my building access to 2 hours a day. And if doing my job was a threat, another deputy, God rest his soul, was limited to 1 hour per week. If that were truly the policy, it would be consistent. It's not. It's personal, and it's punitive, and everyone sees it. Why? Because I speak up, and this board prefers silence. The only reason to track my every movement in this building is fear that I might see an employee was not even told to notify someone every time they arrive. Or I was even told to notify an employee every time I was arrived. No one else is monitored like that. That's not policy, that's control. We keep hearing the word transparency, but the same board sat on a report for months and only released it when it became politically useful. When I asked if the witnesses were under oath, I was told it was attorney-client privilege. If that's your version of transparency, we're in trouble. And if that was if what did the big investigation find? Foul language, that's it. Yeah, we were told it created a hostile work environment. So Severe, an employee had to leave, even though everyone knows they left for higher pay. If If swearing is now the standard, half this building should have filed complaints years ago. Tonight, you approved the first reading of the BEST ordinance and patted yourselves on the back because the Planning Commission finished in time. They finished because you forced them to. They begged for more time. You refused to extend the moratorium and shoved them into a complex, high-risk ordinance that should have thought through before and made more ready. The DDA conflicts, ignored deputies punished, reports hidden, questions treated as crimes, rushed ordinances, insider projects, and truth tellers targeted. That's the problem. Comstock deserves better than selective enforcement, policy games, and leadership that punishes honesty. We deserve better.
Thank you, sir. Any further citizen comment this evening?
John Dickman, Township resident. Just a couple final notes. I, for one, do not think that anybody but the state forced the Planning Commission, actually CIP under the state PA 233 is what forced the Planning Commission, Moratorium Commission, this Township Board to get going on this. They flat out threatened that they were going to drop us all entirely and go that route. So, like has been pointed out, the township did the best that they could do with what they had to work with at the same time. So, that all being said, as far as the Clark Hill report goes, I worked for a Fortune 500 company for 40 years. And it was drilled into my head that HR is HR is HR is HR. And it's nobody else's business. So that all being said, I don't see any reason to disperse a report that we already know what the result was. The treasurer got censured, that was the result, and that's the end of it right there. And everything else is just rehashing old arguments. Let water go over the dam, and let's get on with it. Let's get other jobs done. And good evening.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be quick. I know everybody wants to go. I just want to say I appreciate the presentation on the sirens. I have not been in favor of them, not because of the money, but because I felt they just couldn't be heard in the homes. And that was, I didn't understand spending the money when people weren't going to hear it. What the gentleman said about outdoor areas, I think was a very good point, and I think it would be advantageous for the board to look at putting them on our nature trails and in our parks, et cetera, but maybe not all over the whole township, just because of the fact that they would not be heard, not because I don't want to spend the money. If people could hear them, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But maybe we do need to look at putting them in outdoor areas instead of the whole township. Just my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Under Michigan FOIA MCL 15.2331, I'm making a verbal FOIA request. This request is legally received as of this exact timestamp. I request the following records for the time period of November 1st through December 1st from any township board member, the clerk's office, or the superintendent. All the emails, text messages, phone call logs, phone records related to the Clark Hill report, all communications about bringing the waiver vote back after it failed, all communications about placing this item onto tonight's agenda, including planning, timing, and coordination, any discussions about expected votes or changing previous votes, and any communications about proposed actions, motions, or changes relating to the treasurer's office or deputy treasurer for the purposes of agenda planning or board action. I also request all drafts of tonight's agenda, all agenda prep emails, and all communications between the clerk's office and any board member about adding or reintroducing this item. And since the board has now voted to waive attorney-client privilege, I am requesting the entire Clark Hill report as a part of this FOIA. Only the township attorney has the legal authority to apply exemptions or redactions under FOIA, not Clark Hill. So the township attorney must produce the complete report only with the legal redactions required. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I want to say thank you to our Moratorium Committee and our Planning Commission for all the work that they did. We knew that we were going to get stuck with the best, whether we wanted it or not, because they could go to the state and override us. But they did do a very good job of making our ordinance safer for everybody, and I really appreciate that. This is more in response to the comment in the first part by Lindsay Beauchamp when she didn't want to say her name. Well, she got home and got on, was a Facebook warrior. And she called those of us that get up Ben and Sandy's minions. They don't have anything to do with what I say. I think for myself, just as you guys think for yourself. So I don't appreciate that. To the other person that decided they were going to post my picture all over Facebook that they took from the last meeting and call me a sour face because I didn't agree with certain people. They had no idea what I was thinking. I was responding to something that somebody said next to me, not what was being said at the podium. But on the other hand, they picked out a really cute t-shirt to put my picture on and posted that all over Facebook and said that they were going to use it to pay for their legal fees against somebody that was filing a lawsuit against them. Go for it. It was a really cute t-shirt, not the greatest picture, but if you're going to use it, I didn't sign a waiver for it, so I want royalties from everything that gets sold. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Evening again, Dean Rockwell. I reside at 8178 Fawn Meadow Trail. Real quick comment about the FOIA. I dealt with that a lot in the Army as an Inspector General, and I will say in the latest copy of the Michigan Attorney General's thing, it does clearly state that records readily available information generally should be provided within 5 business days. I don't think we're doing a good job with turning those over. I understand the attorney has to review them. There's layers of that, but I think some of these ones I've seen since I've moved here, 90 days would be the outlier and not the standard, in my opinion. I know some of you have mentioned about billing and different things, but it seems like we're only worried about the billing when it comes to certain matters. You know, we wanted to do a policy for Supervisor Martin or the treasurer, but we're not worried if we continue to bill for some of these other things. To piggyback off the gentleman's comments about Fortune 500 and HR, again, in the military, matters that were, misconduct in nature would not be FOIA'd, would not be released. If it was something like fraud, waste, and abuse, or public interest, yes, you would have a reasonable expectation you would do that. So I agree. Most of us releasing that just to further admonish any of the members, regardless of their party affiliation, I don't think is in a good interest. The policy about the deputies, it's your board. A reasonable person who sat through several of these would see, I believe if this was not William Knight, it would probably not be coming up as an issue. For transparency, he is one of the officers at the VFW where I am the post commander. So I do know him through the post, though we don't have a personal relationship. About your remarks about the elected representation for the deputies, I understand that, but that same argument could be used with a lot of, for your superintendent, which for 15 years, you've drawn all of this consolidation to your superintendent. But again, it's not anyone here that we can vote for, and you guys have put them in this position. So just like a deputy, we can't vote for them, nor do we vote for the superintendent. If open, I told myself when I left the Army, I was responsible for hundreds of thousands of people's lives and welfare, and I would not be getting involved in things. Yeah, I found myself being the post commander across the street. I didn't want to be involved in this because I just been managing things for, nearly 25 years. But yes, in memory of, a good man, Nate Dorlag, if you do have a deputy position, Supervisor Martin, I'd be happy to put my name in the hat to serve as your deputy if you need one until maybe we're recalled. But I'm happy to help you in any capacity, only for the betterment of the township, not for any self-serving reason. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further citizen comment? If not, we'll move along to members' comments. Trustee Cherry?
It seems to be, it's a do as I say, not as I do type of mentality. You want transparency when you want it on your terms. You want honesty when you want it on your terms. You want accountability when you want it on your terms. So it's really frustrating trying to be authentic and honest and transparent when the rules keep changing. So as much as I would love to be and continue to be transparent and honest and accountable, we need, set the rules, leave them here, I'll meet you there. So, but thank you for everyone who is here tonight, and it was actually very nice. I don't want to say soft or quiet, but the comments were respectful, and that is I am extremely grateful for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cherry. Trustee Amos?
Well, I find it hard to be transparent when you keep getting invited into closed-door meetings and then you aren't allowed to say anything.
Thank you, Trustee Amos. Trustee Pratt?
Yes, thank you. There's a number of things on my mind, but I just want to assure people, however this recall works out for either side. This is news to me when I found out there was another recall. And I've done so many things in my life. I feel fortunate to be able to provide some things back from my experience to Comstock Township. But this recall did not take me by surprise. Unfortunately, it's been stated publicly, verbally, as well as in print, long before this term, the motivations of certain people in our community. And I have nothing against them for being politically active or going for what they think is the right thing to do. But it was clearly stated that the objective was to get on this board and to get rid of certain people, the superintendent being one, the DDA they didn't like, it was to be gone, and the board at that point in time, that wasn't theirs. And again, that was politics. I've commented from this dais before during this term that the election is over. It happened in 2024, November, and we should get on about business and business only, because we've got a lot of hard issues that comes our way. And I think that's the best thing to do. Again, I'm not one, when I hear the word recall, I think about some very serious issues at hand, and not to dismiss the gentleman who brought the recall issue that I'm involved in or named in, but we are all, as a community, leading to one end. That was to get this business at hand done. And what I said or did at a given meeting, I had counsel from our attorney at that point that was permissible. And so I don't want to, at this point, argue that point. What's done is done. And again, I will look at my duties as a trustee and to fulfill them as best I can. And when that involves getting behind the reason for doing something, I will do that. I will deal with the issue at hand. If I don't get a response, yes, I may put it in writing and send it. If I don't get a response, then yes, I may certify that and send it again. As in my life, I've had that happen to me in Kalamazoo when somebody doesn't want to give a response, they just are silent. And so I'm going to get an answer one way or the other, and then we all can go on collectively, however that issue is resolved, but I'll get an answer, and I'm not doing this, again, for myself. I'm doing this as a trustee for the township. I think you deserve answers, and a lot of things that I didn't agree with that's happened or voiced, I did hear that, but after consideration with the board, thought it best to go in a different direction. And again, something I've said before on a couple of times, my people go back in this township back into 1830s. So I've got a lot invested here. My family has, as I know a lot of you. But I will not, I can sit up here and take the arrows or the insinuations that a number of people up here are accepting graft in some kind of form. Or the innuendos I hear about Facebook. I don't go on Facebook except for my own page to post something about family normally. But I get friends, neighbors tell me at times I should look at something, and I just don't do that. So anyway, I wish everyone the best. I know we've been through a difficult year. We've expressed that individually here. I'm for something like what we've dealt with here. I don't believe in the recall from either way, and that's not personal. I don't believe in the recall for the people I've heard tonight was named in a second recall. I think that's a waste. I think we can resolve issues that come about by talking them out frankly and honestly, whether it's, and I prefer that to happen in a public setting versus a closed board or closed room. But anyway, I'll go with the things this way with the moment. Again, if the recall is successful, I've had a great time. And again, I've been serving people in a public service since I was 19. And I'll continue that in other measures. But I wish you all well, even those in the opposition. I wish you well too. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Clerk Beauchamp?
Yes, I'd like to address a few statements that were made this evening. There were a number of false statements made. For one, the employee that left did not leave for higher pay. It was stated as a truth. It is not the truth. They left because of what was in their report. We do not pat ourselves on the back tonight about the BESS ordinance. We thanked the Moratorium Committee and the Planning Commission who did the hard work, and we thank them again. We did not pat ourselves on the back. There seems to be a lot of business that is done on Facebook, it appears. What happens on Facebook has nothing to do with what happens in this boardroom. In fact, I think the majority of this board is not even on Facebook. So that can stay out of our boardroom. And the insinuation that we have something to hide is the message out there, that we're not being transparent. But it is a tactic to discredit us and confuse people, and it is simply not the truth.
Thank you, Clerk Beauchamp. Trustee MacGyver?
Yes, all the things we talked about tonight are important, but I'd like to point out, as others have, that the new ordinance for the BESS project, even though it might not be what everybody wants in our township, was a lot of hard work for the Planning Commission and for our attorney and for Ben Martin and others that I don't recognize because I'm not sure. But I want to thank you all for getting that to a place where we can reach some kind of a mutual agreement and feel better about it. And I'd like to thank all the participants and the residents for being here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee MacGyver. Treasurer Bloomfield?
I have a question for Attorney Fall because I would like to have him clear something up for a question that was asked from the public. And that is, Attorney Fall, does this Comstock Township Charter Township Board use Robert's Rules of Order?
I'm not aware that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, with that question being answered for the public, I want to say that since February of last year, this year, I do not step into this building without somebody with me, ever. And the only time I come into this building is when I have to sign paychecks or I have a board meeting. Let that sink in. I am never alone in this building, nor was Nate Dorlag. I will let the supervisor speak for himself on that front. But I will not come into this township office unless somebody is with me because of the things I'm being accused of. So this is going to get very interesting. With that being said, this up here with the back and forth, I walked up to come up here, to come to the board meeting tonight, and I looked at one of the people on this board and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" And I got a snarky answer. I was like, wow, here we go. Okay, let it go. So I did, came and sat down. You know, you four have a 4-3 vote here. And whatever you don't get accomplished, you continue to bring back. Fine, dandy, do what you gotta do. And I want to address another thing tonight, and that is the clerk being offended by the supervisor maybe stepping on her toes, taking things from the agenda and moving them to move the township forward. I guess I didn't see anything wrong with that, but now maybe you kind of know how our supervisor feels not having his powers. With that being said, the last thing is, back in January, I had a resident come up to me at the end of a meeting, and we take a lot of abuse up here. Come up to me, shake my hand, and look me in the eye and say, "You got a lot of courage. You got a lot of courage, but you ain't got nothing else." Well, let me tell you, courage comes from faith. Thank you.
Thank you. I will address the complaints and the waiving attorney-client privilege. I had thought to just keep moving things forward as we were faced with a township for those complaints, and we were all addressed as a board. That's the reason that these complaints keep coming in. And I think if there's a complaint, if we don't do nothing, we should just like get all this muddied water done with. I think to move forward. I do apologize, though I understand your concerns. But I looked at it from the standpoint of it was on the agenda. I would like to still have the special meeting so we can get through some of these complaints, and maybe if there is something that we're doing wrong, or we can correct it and move forward. And then the Clark Hill thing was something that I will admit I did bring up to waive privilege. Personally, I felt that it would be a good idea to share that, but sometimes the way you feel and then your legal advice, that's, you know, I did end up against my own desires, listen to that. And so I do apologize from the standpoint of it being under clerk, and I move it there. I looked at it from the standpoint of it was addressed to the board, so I thought maybe we could, you know, either put some sunlight on it or put it away. Another thing I would say is Facebook is a reality, and it's there, and people sling mud, and they do it, you know, to all of us. And I appreciate the gentleman mentioning as a veteran that he would like to step forward and be a deputy. That's great. My deputy was put all over the internet that he was a fraud and that he was defrauding the VA for the payment that he received from being my deputy. And he has 6 children, and he's no longer here. So if people want to throw mud, and you can see he's not here, and I won't go any further than that, but like, we're a small little town, and we really don't got a whole lot going for us, but we're tearing it up. So if we could start slapping the puck down the ice and move forward, it would be really helpful. And so all the disparaging remarks, and if we could spin it to positivity, I think that would be really helpful. I have 5 kids as well, and this job pays $155 a week. It's fine. It's a public service. That's what you do it for. So I would say all of us are definitely not here for the money, but you know, collectively, it seems like we're, you know, divided. It's either, you know, people are on this side or people are on that side. And we sit up here and we have to have thick skin, and we can't let public comment bother us. And I just see all over the place that I can't control the meetings, and you know, I cannot control what people say at the podium. They can sing the Star Spangled Banner. I have to sit here. We listen to it. But I don't control people's comments. I might know them, I might see them at Myers, but what they say and do, it's not the chair. I'm responsible for what I do and say and the actions that I take here. But I think at times, and I know it's hard to not take things personal, but sometimes what other people say, you know, maybe they might be on the other side of the fence and then they come fling mud at us, but that doesn't make me mad at you guys. So collectively, I would see, you know, maybe we could all come together, because it's quite bad out there. And anonymous posting and making fun of veterans. William's outspoken. I mean, at some point, somebody's got to be. And it looks like people are causing problems, but if they see things that are wrong and they stay silent, a lot of people don't want to say stuff because they look like they're trying to cause problems or drama. But then you put him on a t-shirt and say, thank me, I'm a vet. And then you encourage people, you know, I've seen posts of William. People have encouraged William to be turned in for defrauding the VA for his benefits. That's a federal crime. There's people in this community on one side or the other accusing veterans of committing federal crimes because they may not like the things that they're doing or saying at that podium. That podium is very powerful. I encourage people, if they have something to say to the board, come to the podium. We're listening and we hear it. But at some tune for all of us, maybe the people we may know and on both sides to encourage positivity, I think it would be good for us all. I really don't think that it would hurt any of us or our community. So thank you everybody for attending the meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
There, Treasurer Bloomfield. We have one thing we need to address. So the comment that I said to you was not snarky. I said, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. So if you can't assume positive intent, then you and I need to have a dialogue separately about that.
I didn't mention your name, my dear.
I know you didn't, but for transparency's sake, we're gonna put it out in the open. Yeah.
Thank you. Jerry.
So not transparency's sake.
This meeting is adjourned.